الحمد لله رب العالمين صلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh, and welcome to Islamic Oasis Live. As the situation deteriorates in Gaza, as the bloodletting continues, as the genocide is continues by the Israeli army and the Israelis, brothers and sisters, it's very important that we keep our eyes on the events and the brothers and sisters who are trying whatever they can, every possible way they can, uh, uh, to get aid and support and any help that they can get inside to our brothers and sisters who are suffering, who are literally under constant minute by minute bombardment by the Israeli army. And for that, we have our brother Jilu, Miah. I'm going to give him introduction to him, inshallah. The brother who's the founder of Muslim Giving, a donation platform supporting charities and fundraising for impactful causes. With 20 years of experience, he has collaborated with prominent charities on fundraising, uh, governance, brand management, and much more. We ourselves, with my own experience with Brother Jillu, we also did whatever we can to send an ambulance. The last time this mess was going on, subhanallah, it seems it's a never-ending situation until the Muslim Ummah figures out that this is Tylenol for cancer will not work. But we are trying what we can. Brothers, the average person, whatever is in their hand, they're trying their best. And so we have our brother Jilu here. Brother Jilu, welcome to Islamic Oasis Live.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. How are you doing, akhi? How's everything? Inshallah khair.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Brother Jilu, let's get into it right away. You have been in and out of Gaza. You've tried 7 different times. You've been inside Gaza 3 times. You were there in the Ramadan, and you were there during another war, another bombing, another killing that was taking place in Gaza. If you can, let's start there. What is it like in Gaza? What are the people like, the Muslims there, and what have your experience? What have your experiences been there, Sheikh, when you are there in Gaza?
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh, for inviting me. So just your question, the first response, the first time I entered Gaza, I've been through various securities. I've traveled half the conflict zones in my humanitarian life, and part of that I've experienced security authorities, how they treat you. And soon as I entered Gaza, the authorities there, the way the muamilat, the character, the way the smile and the respect they give you. And I think one thing was amazing for me. Every country you go to, normally the stamp says you need to return back within 60 days or 6 months. Here at the authority, I was told this is your country and you stay here as long as you want. And of course, that was having traveled through so much struggle, the struggle of journey getting into Gaza, the El Arish, the port and the Rafah borders, it's a trauma in itself for people, the experience they go through. Yeah. So entering Gaza and feeling that salam and the peace and the love and the brotherhood, it was amazing. The whole response. Of course, the situation on the ground, the medical situation has already been, in the brinks of collapse. For years, we've been talking about the situation is very dire. It's NGOs and some of the funds coming through, some of the UN, and it's not enough. The work that's required in Gaza is not just a charitable, it's a political, it's a religious, it's for Muslims, it's part of our life, this struggle. This has been going on for a long time. This is not just recent incidents. So of course, alhamdulillah, lots of people are waking up to this, but our response, it's like we're repeating ourselves, providing ambulances, providing medical care, making du'as, doing demonstrations. We have to this is what is happening in our time. If you compare it, the number of casualties we've got, this is in comparison to the Nakba, the numbers are very distressing. So we need to really respond. We have to look at ourselves at our time, in our lifetime. Al-Aqsa, the third holiest mosque, under occupation, and we are sitting in our comfortable homes where people are being carpet bombed, children being killed. How can we, as Muslims or non-Muslims, what can we do? And subhanallah, the question asking, this is a question I ask everyone, whether you're a charity or you're not a charity. This is not a charitable response. This is a human response. This is any human should respond to this catastrophe that's going on. So we have to respond. We need to unite, and we need to. The struggle is a continuous battle, but what we're seeing now is, compared to previous incident, is a complete game changer. But for us, the most important thing, we need to continue making these special du'as, because unless with Allah's permission, we want to see a change. So we have to continue making du'as for wherever we are, but actively what we can, with our heart, with our body, with our amana, our wealth. We need to do what we can, inshallah.
MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Sheikh, so now tell me, you what are you hearing? You're on the calls with the brothers from Ash-Shifa hospital, and I'm sure, and the rest of the hospitals there. We are hearing the complete collapse of infrastructure. As you're already seeing what we're seeing. There is no fuel, there is no oxygen tanks are not there, food is not there, water is not there. Okay, how are the doctors operating? What are you hearing from the doctors on the ground?
So all the years, alhamdulillah, I've been working with the Ministry of Health with a number of projects, ambulances, doctor training, doctors' fees, medical supplies, and it's mainly been in the form of documentation and video, what the situation is. Today, first time I heard a voice, it was more of a panic voice from the Ministry of Health, where they're saying they're having to amputate people on the floors. There's no department rooms. There's no offices. These people are basically bodies are on the floors, and they're having to do these. There's nothing to do operations with. They're having to decide, triage and see who are life-threatening. They're having to manage the flow of the oxygen and the electrical equipment that's required by shutting off lights on certain oxygen machines in certain places of the day. So having to balance, can you imagine? This is you can't even make this up. We're talking about people at a hospital having to manage emergency hospital, manage fuel supply, let alone the medical supply and the cleanliness, the water. They're worried about an outbreaks, and they've already had outbreaks of certain disease like diarrhea, skin infection. So water was a massive plea from an hospital. Well, normally hospitals say give us medicine, but medicine is one thing. We got the fuel issue and you got the water issue. People can't even clean themselves. Sterilization of healthcare is very important. So the dire calls we're seeing, our response need to, of course, we need to see what the blessings we have and the blessings around us, and how do we mobilize. And I'm telling everyone, let's not do knee-jerk response like what we normally do. We need to do more than that, more than just charity, more than just physically going out there. Inshallah.
Sheikh, the destruction is beyond belief. Of course, they're pushing people from north to south. Now you have an invasion. It seems like the Yahud are trying to cut through Gaza and then trying to create some type of a perimeter to that they can have some type of a control. Sheikh, I mean, what are you, yani, as far as the border is concerned, the south, you've been there, you've been to Rafah border many times. What does the border look like, Sheikh, when you are there in the average times, and what are you hearing now on the border?
So, well, part of my travels, I've visited certain cities, and sometimes I see certain cities. These are called ghost cities, yeah?
Mm,
And these cities are just left for certain elites, military officials, where they use as their base. Having seen El Arish as a city in 2008, that city no longer exists. It's the buffer zone between Egypt and Gaza has increased further. Now, entering the no, if we call it the no man's land, it's all sand, it's all desert, rocks, no habitat, and
mm.
you got Egyptian soldiers, skinny Egyptian soldiers, young Egyptian soldiers smoking cigarettes and playing fire games at walls and empty buildings and stuff. And in between, the whole perimeter is guarded. So when you're going in, a tank is rolling in, and another tank is there, and you're blocked there. And then, of course, you have your scrutiny and intimidation until you get permission. So then you get passed through. And along the way, you've seen the whole security, Egyptian security. You also do see the Israeli security in the Egyptian area. And of
Sheikh,
course,
how's the interaction between the Egyptian army and the Jewish, yani the Israeli intelligence or the soldiers? I'm sure when you walk by, what do you see, Sheikh? Yani, is this another day in just another day, or is it? I mean, do you even see any type of, like, you've occupied Muslim land type of thing in their hearts, or doesn't occur to them?
so the way the perimeters are kept, like, so when you enter the Rafah, the Egyptian, after you pass the Egyptian security, which is a very lengthy process, very traumatic process, going through that, and then when you do
So
enter,
what is the process? Go. I need you to explain that, Sheikh, because I want the Muslims to know the amount of the how hard they're making it for people like you and me to work and to bring just food and water to our people in Gaza.
now, Somala, of course, the challenges that we're facing, the challenges people face in Palestine cannot be compared to
Oh,
the
of course.
challenges going in. But it's very important to recognize the journey. And sometimes when we're entering or leaving Gaza, there's people who need to leave Gaza and they need a severe operation or an emergency, critical emergency, and they can't leave. And we're leaving, we're going in and we're going out. But the Palestinians can't go in and go out. So just the journey in itself, I would say, of course, the currently any of our humanitarian NGOs traveling, we have to be escorted by the army from Cairo to all the way to El Arish, the Rafah border. So you cannot just jump on a taxi and just get into Rafah. You'll be stopped at various entry points. You will actually be intimidated, and we've known people who've been tortured in that process.
Oh wow! Just for trying to get to the border.
Yeah, we've had brothers who've been tortured by Egyptian authorities trying to travel into Gaza. So of course, this is people who are going. Of course, when we do these operations, we need to have the necessary permissions and the paperwork, and of course, the Egyptian military providing that security from Cairo all the way to El Arish. We get that, and it's a long journey. It's a very long journey. I can't. It takes up to half a day to get to there, and then after that is, of course, the Egyptian process. You're spending, when you get to the Rafah crossing, you have the armies, which is the desert land. You have the tanks. You've got the armor. You've got the soldiers who will interrogate, and you'll see your bag's just been checked a while ago. Your bag's getting checked again. It's a continuous process. I take perfume with me. Alhamdulillah, one of the brothers that sells perfumes, and I said I'm going to give it to brothers in Gaza. So I give it to the soldiers. I said, look, take this. It's a hadiyah. You have to engage these Egyptians,
Mm.
innit?
Mm.
Well, in a way you can, and remind them why we're doing this. And so I let them do it. They chuck my bag, and I think, no, that's my bag gone, and so alhamdulillah, when you arrive at the Rafah crossing, the Egyptians process you through security, and they leave you there for a while, half a day until they've processed you, and then you see other Palestinians who are trying to get back in at that point, and then everyone gets stamped by the Egyptians. The approval is made, so you can stamp in a piece of card, so you don't need to have it on your Palestinian your passport. Alhamdulillah, I've got Palestinian nationality, so
Oh,
you
really?
can also have it on a paper, on a passport. So when we enter when we pass the Egyptian side, we come to the Gaza authorities. Before we come to the Gaza Authority, there's a border in between which is managed by Israel. So can you imagine, you got the Egyptian, you got the Israeli, then you got Gaza authorities.
Wow. So
Yeah.
even it's not. So even the last door when you're entering Gaza is actually the Israeli checkpoint.
No, it's actually Israeli door, yeah, because they're the one who, and you can see that part between Egypt and Gaza and that Israeli corridor and the doors in between. It's a corridor that goes around. You can see it goes around quite long, and you can see the Israeli military there.
Huh. So Sheikh, I mean, wow. Subhanallah. So it's not so the security is completely surrounded. I mean, it's not just the other side of Gaza, but even Rafah side is completely surrounded by the Israeli soldiers.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so in between the Egyptian and the Philistine Gaza border, you have the Israeli army present. They actually tried to confiscate one of my cameras many years ago. They came in storming into the bus. Israelis said, "Where is that your camera?" But I didn't give it. That's us leaving the Gaza. Of course, you're not allowed to take pictures of customs and security ports, but they're very, very trigger friendly.
Huh. So has it happened, Sheikh? Do the humanitarians? Do they? Have you seen? I mean, you just said obviously there are people who've been tortured trying to get there, but has there been any incidences where people have been shot at, humanitarian workers, charities, by the checkpoints or the guards on checkpoints?
So the Great Return March, the every Fridays that used to take place, where the Palestinians used to go to the Malaka Point, and they used to, protest the right to return. And we've seen clearly paramedics, doctors, journalists. I was actually a projectile was aimed directly where I was documenting, and I was unconscious for a bit. I felt like I couldn't breathe, I couldn't gasp. I was running through the smoke, and I was telling myself, find air, and all I could see is smoke. Until a paramedic saw me. So we saw the likes of Rosanna Najar. She's a paramedic doctor. She got killed. She had a uniform on, medical uniform on. We're at the borders of Gaza. It's all a peaceful protest, and people being shot. I've seen young boys like Zakaria and Hamza, the names we know, 12-year-olds, 15-year-olds, who've passed away because of a gunshot wound, who've lost their eyes because of a rubber bullet. So many lives are being destroyed. This has been happening for years. So, in terms of the need on the ground, to give an example, we're worried about water. water in Gaza. Before this, the recent incident, people have been struggling with water. I remember a family I spoke to once. They said some days when these charity water tankers don't arrive, they break fast without any water. And
Allah.
I've looked at the barrels of these houses. Yeah, I've gone into one woman's house. She seemed like she was sitting outside on the floor doorstep of Gaza, and I was asked, and we came with the water tanker, and I wanted to go. And that day we wanted to delay the water tanker because we needed to do um, uh, some administration marketing stuff. So we were delayed to do that city. So when I arrived and I knew the delay was because of me, I spoke to the sister, elderly sister, and I said, "Can I enter and see how the house is and where to fill up the water?" And so the whole house is empty. It's one room. There's a kitchen, small room. There's one barrel in the kitchen, and I looked in the barrel. There's no water, and she's fasting. So I said, what would have happened if there's no water today? If the tanker didn't come today? And she said she would have broke fast with no water. And this is the situation. I've seen people, yeah, especially the people that have been crippled, but the brothers that have been crippled, amputated, kids that have been amputated, they are stuck indoors a lot. So the mental health of these people, can you imagine? So I remember seeing a young boy. He said no one's ever come to him. The only people he sees is the aid worker that comes and gives the food pack a month. And I think, what is that going to happen to this child? He's in a wheelchair. It's not going to get any education, any life skills. The mental capacity is deteriorating, and unless we do something for these people, already for it's crazy when we think about it. Us watching this is traumatic. Imagine the people living it, yeah, day in day out for years. So if we the situation is it's something that in our lifetime, how can we how can we tell people or our family or children that we lived through this time where Muslims are being massacred, carpet bombed, children are dying in front of us, buried alive. We can't even evacuate the people from the buried thingy. Buried building. People are still now currently buried underground. We can save lives still, but there's there's no there's nothing. We need to mobilize. We need to do great things in this unprecedented time.
Sheikh, now let's talk about there are a few things that you are working on. Inshallah, we will work with you in this. You're trying to get aid in. So talk to me about ambulances. I mean, I know we worked with you on the ambulances before. You have done a lot of work on the ambulances, getting ambulances in. I mean, you've had probably close to 20 years of experience in this. So, especially in Gaza and in the war zones in general. So, and what needs to be done? What do you, what are you hearing on the ground? What is needed? What needs to be done? Give us few things that those who are listening to this can do and can work on.
I think, of course, fundamentally, everyone in their own capacity needs to make very sincere dua and really need to make those special prayers because it's very needed at this moment of time. We want to be part of this, and we can't just sleep through this. So we need to really look at ourselves, reflect on ourselves, and make changes within ourselves so we can get victory. And most importantly, of course, mobilizing our family, friends, colleagues, whatever capacity. Everyone's got different skills they can bring to the table. We've got lawyers, engineers, we've got so many different types of professionals, journalists, engaging them on what they're good at. Some good, supporting everyone. If some people like demos, some people don't, it doesn't matter. It's not about having a discussion whether demos work or not. Yeah, this is about, we have to mobilize every front we have, every context we have, from a humanitarian, from an awareness perspective. We are doing lots of stuff here in the UK at the moment, using our networks, influencers, media channels, lobbying the MPs, lobbying the channels, calling these journalists up, telling them why they're bias reporting. So making those phone calls to the journalists, and we need to overtake the Jewish people calling the journalists. We need to start calling it so they realize there's a Muslim on the phone complaining, not just a Jew just phoning. Yeah?
Let
So
me
we
ask
need
you
to make
something,
those.
Sheikh. I don't mean to cut you off, but Sheikh, I mean, we are calling everyone, but maybe except the people that we should be calling upon are our the armies that we feed every day.
No, definitely. And one of the things I tell the brothers is, why doing the Israeli embassy? Why are we not doing a demo in the Egyptian embassy? Why not doing a demo in the British embassy? They're the culprits. Yeah, why we're not talking to the counterparts, the countries like Saudi? Why we're not going to all the different Muslim embassies, telling them what are they doing? We can't just go to the Israeli embassy. We need to do more than that. So of course, we have to reach out to the rulers and the scholars and these political celebrities and imams and scholars. We have to mobilize that. We need to mobilize our school children. They need to know what is happening. They cannot shy away from the school. They need to educate their teachers. They need to educate the non-Muslims about what's happening. It's very important. Our kids are well informed. They don't shy away from the Palestinian issue. It's something that we're proud of, and we're not going to let anything tell us.
Because this is a Muslim issue, Sheikh. This is another thing, Sheikh.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, I understand we're talking about Palestine. This is a Muslim issue. This is an issue of Islam. This is about the first Qibla. This is about Baytul Maqdas. This is about Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak. This is about the Muslim lands. And I think we have to, that's something that we need to constantly remind the Muslims, brothers, that, because, unfortunately, there's a lot of nationalism. Right? There's a lot of people who still need to be educated in what is actually taking place. And subhanallah, that this ummah is divided, and the kuffar are able to use us being divided, and and this is the only way. I mean, the reason I was asking you, for instance, that did you ever feel mercy in the hearts of those soldiers, Akhi, when you're walking towards Rafah border? You ever feel any type of mercy in their hearts that these people are in many ways part of the genocide that's taking place? Actually, they are part of the genocide. There is no excuses given to them. But did you ever feel, I mean, they are Muslims at the end of the day. They are, or do they even act or behave like Muslims? And the second question, so you can, when you are in Egypt, Sheikh, when you are going through these areas of, close to the borders, do you ever feel the Muslims in Egypt, that the next door, what's happening in this genocide?
No, it's worrying, because I come from from a behavioral perspective. I observe a lot. I've got kind of a background in that, and when I look at these,
So you have you have a degree in it too. Sorry, I forgot to read
I
that
have
part.
I've got postgraduate background in behavioral studies, and part of that observation, of course, you look at how people interact and how they talk. And of course, sometimes, I remember once one brother was very vocally telling the Egyptian brother, "These are your brothers and sisters. This is a soldier, Egyptian soldier. Doesn't your heart weep to what you see?" And you can see there were some emotions in a few, but we were seeing this hollowness. And then we're thinking, okay, and I haven't looked at some of these Egyptian soldiers. You see them, and you see them like straws, like the soul is being pulled out from some of these guys. Like, you see that, the skinny thing smoking cigarette, holding a gun, and you're thinking the wind will blow that person away. And these are young boys. And now I think, okay, sometimes you hear the call of the Muslim army, and you just see, okay, I'm talking about the Egyptian army in particular. Of course, they've put these people there, young boys there, to run these operations, but we try to see, of course, give the benefit of the excuse to everyone, and see, try to give them that reminder. But for them, the way I look at it is it's a more secular approach. This is a job.
Mm.
There's nothing between Muslim, halal or haram. They're not seeing it like that. They're seeing it as a purely secular approach. I don't think from my interactions I got any Islam from the Egyptian security interaction. That's my observation. Uh, and Of course, once when I saw that brother trying to explain to them, these are your brothers and sisters, and telling them about Palestine, there were Egyptian soldiers that were weeping. But they can't respond. The Egyptian security services is on another level. People are traumatized, terrorized, and people are, extrajudicially killed. People they disappear.
Mm.
Families are
Mhm.
worried. I've got a brother in Egypt at the moment doing some networking for me. He said anything, he doesn't want to go beyond the scope because of the risk to him and his family. And for us, it's the only thing we want from him is to ensure that our containers arrive and they go in smoothly. So Egyptians are scared. Yeah.
Okay, so Sheikhi, now let's go back to now ambulances. We are trying to get ambulances in. Tell me the process and what needs to be done. And second, also, I know you're trying to get a container. I'll talk about that also because I know a lot of people would like to know how they can help with these containers. But let's start with the ambulances. First of all, how important are ambulances in Gaza?
So since of course for us it's been one that we need a land, air, and sea response. We need to find multiple corridors to get aid in. In terms of the ambulances, I've seen firsthand ambulances, and you'll see your hair of your skin go up when you see the ambulances going in the front line and saving these lives. And alhamdulillah, some of the ambulances that we've bought are currently in Al Shifa, and it's actually been documented in the recent news. And when we see these ambulances going out in the front lines, they're going out into these terrains and they're getting these bodies, they're doing the treatment in the ambulances, you know, getting the vital signs back until they can treat them in the ambulance or in the hospital. So it's a vital lifeline, these ambulances, because if they're not there in time, you cannot stop the bleeding, you cannot deal with the concussion, you can't give them the drugs they need to stabilize. So all of that stuff is needed through our ambulance service. In terms of what we're doing here, we're trying to mobilize a network of international partners and our UK charities, a coalition to mobilize number of funds. And one of them is, of course, is looking at shipping it. First one is a container from UK direct to Alexandria in Egypt. The second approach we're looking at is from here, importing or driving from UK to Europe to Turkey, via Turkey being shipped to Egypt. And the third route, which we're looking at, is a land convoy via Europe and Africa. We have done it before. We have entered Gaza via these routes, so we're exploring all options. We also now have the list of the MLH drugs, the equipment. So we're already starting to secure them and looking at the existing ambulances that are filling them ambulances up, and also the container shipping it from here. So we want to mobilize not just the different channels. We have to mobilize and unite our charities together so we can have a more bigger impact, because everyone's dropping things. And that's one of the things I said to the Gaza authorities. I said, look, at the moment, certain cities in Gaza has more water tanks than other cities.
Mm.
So we need to do lots of coordination in Gaza, which is lacking. Something, but you could imagine lots of things is lacking in Gaza. But part of that is the Palestinian charities need to unite and say, well, our response to this is going to be a collective response, and when we're going to make noise when we deliver amana, and it's going to be something very substantial. And part of that is, of course, is we're looking at where you can make immediate impact. So for us, is one of the we need to buy drugs now in Egypt and send the drugs in. So immediate response to the healthcare situation.
So,
Yeah?
Sheikh,
But of course,
is there going to be? So I heard. Well, I think Rafah was open yesterday. Uh, when can we get the aid in?
so at the moment, there's going to be a massive backlog. So you will have these government and different funding pots who are currently queuing up to go in. So the aid will go in. It's a matter of time. It's all to do with diplomacy and, of course, the connections you have on the ground. We don't know when the doors or corridor will fully open, and we should have the firm belief that doors will open permanently. And that's the way I look at things. That this, every intifada is that the siege is going to be open permanently. We don't want another siege. Yeah. So the way we should look at perspective is that the doors are going to open permanently. So what are we doing for that permanent state? Because we can't be operating in an environment where the doors close again. But of course, we need to look at short-term and immediate reality, whether we can think beyond a siege, but we have to plan beyond the siege. And that should be our thinking, that this is not just some short term, we're going to give some ambulances and that's it. And, next Ramadan, we're going to hear the bombing. It's not one of this is the different time we're living in. We need to really respond differently. And we need to
Sheikh,
do things that this siege is broken forever. We don't talk about a siege anymore.
Sheikh, inshallah, that's what I'm praying, that this, not only the siege is broken, that the whole occupation is removed, inshallah, bi'iznillahi ta'ala.
Right.
May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give this ummah, and especially those who can make a change, tawfiq. This is what I was trying to actually gauge from you, Sheikh, when I was talking about what you see when you are going through these borders, when you see the soldiers, the army, the Muslim armies, at least supposed Muslim armies, when you tell, that I don't understand. Maybe they're just so cold because they've seen this over and over and over and over, and then they know that, there is no point in crying anymore, because of the level of, yani, I don't even know if we have rulers anymore, to be honest, akhi. I don't even know how to talk about this anymore, as far as, okay, so we have ambulance issues, then you have, so Sheikh, what are the average costs of the ambulances? For instance, now in Turkey, if someone wants to purchase an ambulance in Turkey, is that a possibility, number one? And if that's a possible,
Of course, that's a possibility. And at the moment, there's a discussion going on about, of course, foreign NGOs buying ambulances in Turkey and using the Turkish government route to send the amana inside Gaza. And that's a very safe route because the Turkish authorities has more diplomacy to ensure the amana effectively goes in. So we should use all corridors in that respect.
And how much is an ambulance in Turkey, Sheikh?
I've not bought an ambulance in Turkey before, but in Europe, around those parts, you're looking at $15,000, like an average ambulance. We've bought ambulances in Turkey for Gaza for $50,000, and these are high-spec ambulances, fully kitted up, brand new ambulances. We've bought ambulances for $5,000 in the UK. My first ambulance I bought was £2,000, and we spent large amounts. So it all depends. And of course, if we're providing any ambulances, we want to make sure we're supplying, because there may be a siege again. We need to make sure the equipments have the parts, these ambulances have the necessary parts to continue into another siege. The ambulances we bought, 5 years ago, it's still running. Yeah, it's still running. For the ambulances we bought 10 years ago, it's still running. Yeah. So those ambulances are still operational in the current climate.
So the average ambulance in Turkey is $15K.
I paid $50,000, I'm not sure the current. We're still trying to get the current costings, but I paid $50,000. I can show you the one of the specs we got from Turkey. So it was a custom built in through a medical supplier in Egypt. So
Mm.
they build these ambulances, and MOH, Ministry of detailed this specification for us, and it was a fully one. So, but we can buy these in Europe. We can buy these in Turkey. We can buy these cheaper in other parts of the country, and we can do the thing. Turkey, of course, is going to be raised now because of the demand. So we but regardless, for us, the way we see it is that $90,000 to ambulances, the lives is saving. $90,000 is nothing. Yeah. Because we'll spend that over and over again if we have to save one life. So we need to know. We need to find as many corridors we can. Turkey is one. One is the convoy we're doing, and the other one is we shipping the ambulances from here to Egypt. But I think the most quickest, we're looking at other routes, the Jordan route as well. There's ambulances we can buy from Jordan, which has been the quickest in the past. Quickest, I mean, it's taken up to 6 weeks. But we've got good ambulances in from Jordan, so we're waiting for updates from the ground in Egypt to see, okay, what's the quickest now to respond, and then of course the cost-effective approach. And everyone's got different priorities, and some charities want to just buy in Egypt now because they want to get that ambulance in, that frontline ambulance in.
So,
That's needed.
how much is in Egypt, Sheikh? You said Turkey will be 50K. How much is?
No. I said Turkey I've not bought from before. Europe,
Okay.
around Turkey, like we're looking at $15,000.
So 15000.
Yeah, that's right,
Oh,
15,000.
15K.
In
Okay.
Egypt, yeah, and in Egypt I spent 50K,
Egypt.
$50,000. So it's, as you can see, Egypt is much higher.
Yeah, they're trying to make money over the over the.
Yeah.
الله المستعان أخي. الله المستعان.
So I bought two. I told you I still bought two because I knew that this is the quickest way to get in, and it was actually it was really like a very good high spec ambulance, like you see in the Western countries. But I was talking to a brother just a while ago, and saying we would have by this week we should have had ambulances in the garage, but I think some stuff are we're moving too slow. That's the way I look at it. We're moving very slow. We should know what's going to happen weeks ahead, and we should be planning like that.
Moving slow. Sheikh, did anybody expect what was happening here at all? No one expected this. This type of a situation. But I know you were telling me if you could, you were there in Ramadan.
That's right.
And in Ramadan there was all kinds of it's bombardment going on in Gaza in Ramadan.
Well, of course I was shocked. Like while I'm in like having a coffee with the sheikhs or speaking to the NGO partners, and it's outdoor. You see a rocket fly above your head, and for me, of course, they say for them as soon as the rocket flies out, they say Takbir, Allahu Akbar. And I'm thinking, what's this? Is this like a something they do in Gaza? Like any time a rocket goes above their head, they say Allahu Akbar. So I'm like in prayer in Gaza, and I'm in Salah following the Imam. A rocket went up, and I said Allahu Akbar in the middle of prayers, and everyone thought this guy. Because for me, I became used to what they were saying, but I forgot I was in prayer, and I said Allahu Akbar, and I'm thinking, everyone looking at me thinking this guy has probably completely lost it, a foreigner in our country. But anyway, I'm telling you, it's distressing. Of course, the whole surveillance, the drone is constantly up above your head. The noise you can hear, the buzzing, they call it the bee. The bee noise. They got a word for it in Arabic. I can't remember it now. But yeah, it's
Because
so
I know because now they
Yeah.
actually have drones constantly on. There's drones flying everywhere around Gaza. They're of course, other than now you have a whole army inside, plus the bombs constantly falling. They're shelling the whole area constantly every minute. It looks like. Sheikh, talk to me about the mental. I mean, I know you said, look, I was saying Allahu Akbar in the middle of the prayer when you heard the rocket go. And I know we were laughing about it because, I mean, I understand. I mean, I remember, I've seen these situations in Syria, but, you know, you, what do you think is happening, Sheikh, from your observations? And of course, you also have a behavioral, this background and study. But what you are seeing on the screens now, and you being inside, first of all, have you lost people that you know? And number two, when you were with the children there, Sheikh, because majority of the casualties have been children, and what's going through your head, Sheikh, when you see yourself walking through the streets of Gaza and the masajid, the hospitals, the schools? What's going through your head? I'm sure some of the places that you're seeing on TV, you said, man, I know that place.
So, like the level of iman they have, you sometimes think, okay, rocket going through your head, you should be, thinking, okay, what am I? Is it safe to be here? These people it's become a form of dhikr when they see these attacks, and of course it makes you think, okay, the level of, the kind of the dedication they have to this, this living in this environment, and they're not complaining or anything. And you start thinking, okay, these people, they're very, very funny, lovely people to be with. You can actually joke around with these people in very serious scenarios, and then you think, okay, these people are very jolly people. You can. And the country in itself, you look at it and you say, this is a Muslim country. I want to come and visit. And I want to come and visit here like in Ramadan. I want to meet the brothers and go and eat. And there's places there that you feel like you're in your home. In terms of the people passing away, there's lots of people who I know have passed away, who I've worked with directly. And today I saw a video of a child talking in amongst the rebels, and I actually met the child not so long ago. Now, in terms of the sites that have been, Beit Ilahi have been hit, and this is an area I visited. The University of Gaza, I actually got accepted there. I visited the university, bombed the University of Gaza down, and that university is actually producing highly qualified people in engineering, gas, computing, bricks, mechanics, sisters in arts and crafts. It's a fully blown establishment developing people into professional jobs, and they just took out the university. Now they mentioned a camp just recently as well.
Yeah.
The bombed up. It's just all these names. I'm just thinking. I've been to that
Jabali, I
camp.
think
I've been to
Jabali
this.
camp was
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just telling myself, no, I've been there, and that's Salahuddin Road is closed, and I've been there. Khan Yunis, this is what's happening. So it's all having, of course, flashback. I'm saying, okay, I was there, and this had happened. But it's one of those ones I remember once the bomb fall right next to where I was living, and it was probably about about say 100 yards from where I was sleeping. The shock, the feeling you get just from the movement, just weakens your body. It feels like that your body is like your soul and your body feels like it detached for a bit, and then you're trying to get yourself your strength back. So not just the attack itself, the environment in itself just destabilizes you, and it took a few hours to recover from this. And this is a rocket just blowing up 100 yards away from me. Imagine what people are experiencing, building collapsing while they're sleeping. We're hearing stories. People are swapping their kids around because they don't know if one kid would survive, one family will survive, because they're wiping out generations of families in Gaza.
Sheikh, I mean, subhanallah, subhanallah, subhanallah. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. No, I was watching this interview live this morning in Al Jazeera, akhi, and the brother was saying it's from inside. He's obviously he's in Gaza, and there is no light now, and he has a torch, and he's just, you know, with small light that he has, he's talking and he's telling people that, look, I have there's my family is about 12, and there's my neighbor here, and there is a woman that she is in she's in coma completely, and there is no way, that they don't know what to do with her if the bombing begins there. Should they leave her there or what? There's a lot of elderly there. There's children who are he has a 2-month-old, and the women are, subhanallah, Sheikh. Yani this is I don't know.
I was trying to look at that, the example you just gave me. I was thinking, okay, this is stuff that you probably hear on movies, like a story being made up. And I actually tried to think of a movie I saw many years ago, the hospitals being bombed and people being left, deciding whether people will live there. This is a film, it's a very old war film. We're not living in the dark ages no more. We're in the 21st century, and we're seeing history repeating itself, and we are leaving people, injured people, and these people are saying clearly, we're not moving anywhere. This is our home. Why are we going to run away to die when you're going to bomb us? So these people have got nowhere to go. This is their home. This is their land. This is, and they're not going to leave. And for them to announce for people to move, this is not something that people are really going to do, and that's what the general feedback. Even some of my colleagues on the ground, brothers that I know, I'm having to get. Sometimes I don't hear from them, and so I get worried, and I'm calling them. So they send me a heart sign with a pumping sign saying he's still alive. So although he can't talk, I know that today he's alive at least, yeah. But I would probably talk to him tomorrow, but I need to talk to him today. But I don't want to stress him out, because his priority is in. I'm worried about his family as well. He's thinking about the brothers and sisters in Gaza, but of course, he might not be thinking of himself, and that's one of the things. Some of these NGO workers, the traumas they go through, is something. We need to provide them with the support, and lots of these brothers that I know are not actually answering phones at the moment.
I was going to show you, Sheikh. This is I saw the last pictures from Abu Yusuf, one of the brothers I worked with in Gaza, and I'm still waiting for him to respond. That was 10:35 a.m. on Tuesday, and he does our food work, distribution. Till now, there is no answer. The only thing I said, Wallahi, you are in our du'as. And I saw him send me 2, emojis with with teardrops, and then to that I responded, and no response till now. And subhanallah, Sheikh, these are people that we know for years and years and years, and this is may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah is watching, Sheikh. وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ اللَّهَ غَافِلًا عَمَّا يَعْمَلُ الظَّالِمُونَ. And and tell us, Sheikh, in the last 5 minutes, what needs to be done? What do you need? What? So we talked about ambulances. The other thing, you have also a container that is going from UK. I asked you whether we can get you a convoy or a container from the US. You said we're going to work on that, inshallah, from here to Alexandria, and we have to figure that out. The moment you give us some answers, then we'll start that work here. In 2 minutes, Sheikh, summarize what needs to be done.
I think, of course, we have to think the long-term approach, breaking the siege, the occupation.
Give us some ideas about breaking the siege, Sheikh. Give me What do you mean? I was talking to my wife about this. I was talking to many people since morning. What what can we do other than the things that we're already doing to break the siege?
So one of the things I was saying, of course, the entry points to Gaza is very limited. Yeah, the
Okay, so
corridors we have.
okay,
Of
entry
course, we
point.
need to utilize and lobby these entry points we have using our, political influential messages. But there's this seaport, which I've been telling brothers, is that we Muslims should have their own ships, their own chartered ships. We should be sending ships, and from Libya, we've sent 6 ships to Gaza before through Alexandria. So we should not be fearful of some Israeli army going to come on board onto our ship. Yeah, we have to deploy ships. We have to deploy. Even one of the things, like someone was saying, send a plane into Gaza. I said there's no airport to land it on, but there's nothing stopping us from doing it. Why can't we think beyond that? But I know there are international sanctions, but there's nothing stopping us from chartering a boat from the UK or from the US or from any mainland, fill it up with load, and there's plenty of NGOs, and the public will fill up the ship with the aid, the construction material they need, the recovery materials they need, all these large items we need to ship over. And of course, looking at Libya, although it's gone through lots of turmoil, the Libyan people I've seen in my experience when it comes to global Muslim affairs, they are very strong. Yeah?
Mm.
Of course, there are lots of factions within. We have to build relationship with Libya, strong relationship with Libya, so we can put pressure on Egypt. Yeah, that's one thing we need to do from that front. Lebanon itself has gone through its own struggle. I've been speaking to the brothers in Lebanon. We need to strengthen the brothers, because the brothers in Lebanon are also worried. And then we need to support them, encourage them, and motivate the people to wake up and and rise up and respond. Because when we say it's a global unified approach, and I think the other countries strategically we need to look at. But I think at the moment is, you know, uh, we have to think outside the box. It's not that, Brother Shiraz, you've been doing for years. You've been in the sector. Flying into conflict zones, and what can we do? We haven't done. That's why I think from the UK we've never been a charged ship to Gaza. It's happened from Turkey. What's stopping us from sending it from the UK? The Irish have done it. Why can't the British do it? And I think from the US as well, and if you find a good ship dealer, the charter, and you can convince them this just go into Egypt, or if you can convince them, we're breaking the siege. And some companies, with the flotilla is a different story. But I think even if we can't, we can at least get the aid into Egypt and take it through the corridors. But I think the long-term strategy, we need to really, the organizations need to come together, and come up with some real plans. And I think, on a side note, there needs to be more emphasized strategy, like we have outreach projects on Dawa and classes. We need to have a very long a strategy that we're strategically destroying all these companies. Yeah, companies that are supporting the military, that are killing the Muslims. And if the Muslim came together and said, okay, let's target one company at a time, let's knock them out. And I think there's got to be a very focused effect, and we've seen it work here in the UK. We're seeing all these shops that's been boycotted, they're all empty. They're providing free stuff now because it's empty.
Mm.
They're saying free burgers and free chips and free this. So we need to really shut them down. Alhamdulillah, some brothers recently shut down a warplane, a military company, Israeli company in the UK. They done a demonstration. It was in the news recently. The brothers trying to boycott. So we have to compile a list of, okay, our target for the next, this is what we're going to do. We're going to knock out in our area. We don't want to see any Israeli shops in our area. and beyond. And we need to educate the public when they're shopping these Israeli products that you need to, this is blood on your hands. We have to, but we have to do it with Nasiya, with adab and akhlaq. Say, look, sister or brother, this coke you have in there, this is what it's doing. Take alternative. We have to really, really put the energy into this now. And that's the way they're going to feel the financial sufferings. They're going to feel it on the economy, and we need a very focused strategy on that. And I feel easily we can take out these components because they will not be accepted in the Muslim community.
And with that, inshallah, Jazakallah khair, Brother Jilu. Inshallah, of course, we're going to continue talking, but for this live, Barakallah Feek, there's a lot of, and we constantly learn from brothers like you, because we obviously, in general, we don't get to hear things like this, and from especially experienced brothers who've done this and over, and also gives us a lot of hope, and also gives us courage, Sheikh. To hear brothers talk the way you're talking, that so much can be done, even if you are, you don't have to be in Gaza. You can be other places that you can do so much to support your brothers and sisters, and that we must do what we can, because we will be asked on the Day of Judgment. Sitting around is not going to work. So inshallah, with this, brothers and sisters, Jazakallah khair for attending. I know this is one thing that we're going to be doing throughout this whole week. We will be bringing in different brothers, whether from the humanitarian sector, doctors, influential people, activists, politicians. We're going to bring them on the show. And this is going to happen. We're trying to do every single night of this crisis. We are going to try to bring someone to continuously discuss what's happening in Gaza, so that it's on our minds. Because literally, dear brothers and sisters, every second there's a child being killed. Every second I think now it's 100 children a day is what we are seeing. 100 children a day. You're talking about babies. And yesterday, I was looking at the list. I'm sure some of you have already. There's lists. There's now PDF. There's books. There's that the Health Ministry of Gaza has printed out with all the names and all of the dead and shuhada. Because Biden, La'natullah alayhi, he said something that he didn't think that the numbers are this high. So they had to print out the names of all of these names to prove to them that this is what the death toll is. So with that, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give victory to our brothers and sisters in Gaza and everywhere else where the Muslims are suffering. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring them help, support, and those who can seriously help, not only with aid, but the support that they really need to remove the occupation, period. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
لا لن يطول الظلام، ديننا لن يضام، نحن جيل الهمام، نحن فينا عمر. لا 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 لن يطول الظلام، ديننا لن يضام، نحن جيل الهمام، نحن فينا عمر. صبح بدا نور ظهر، نجم وشمس وقمر، ألقى على الدنيا الدرر. هذا عمر، هذا عمر، كل البرايا تنتظر أيامه البيض الغرر كي تستفيد من العبر. هذا عمر، هذا عمر. لا لن تدوم الجراح، بل سيأتي الصباح، نحن أهل الكفاح، نحن فينا عمر. لا لن تدوم الجراح، بل سيأتي الصباح، نحن أهل الكفاح، نحن فينا